Hey guys, it's Josh. Today I'm going to be talking about carpal tunnel syndrome. This is probably one of the most common disorders that can affect DJs and music producers at their wrist. It's very common just because when you think about the position you have to be when you're making music, you're typically at a computer and you have to be and it's sort of this hunch forward posture tends to be the common place that people tend to reside. And if their desk setup isn't good, that can put a lot of stress on the wrist and cause carpal tunnel syndrome. So I want to talk a little bit about what it is, and just so you have an idea if you are having pain at your wrist, to give you an idea on whether or not you might have it or not. So what is carpal tunnel syndrome? Carpal tunnel syndrome is simply compression of your median nerve at your wrist. And if you have no idea what your median nerve is, you're in luck. I'm going to go over that. So your median nerve is a nerve that runs all the way from your neck, down your shoulder, arm, and all the way through your hands. And so your median nerve, like all of your other nerves, basically serves to allow your muscles to work and then allows for sensation to occur in your hand. So your median nerve basically does a couple different things. It allows your wrist to flex like this, and it allows you to have some form of grip strength. And the other thing that your median nerve does is it allows you to feel sensation in your thumb, index finger, middle finger, and one half of your ring finger. So not the whole thing, but just half of it. And that's what your median nerve does. And at your wrist, there is a ligament that crosses over your wrist, and that's called your transverse carpal ligament. So you have a bunch of bones in your wrist. You have 8 of them, and there are a couple bones out of those carpals that tend to stick out a little more, and there's a ligament that passes from one side to another, and then that is your transverse carpal ligament. And so that ligament, because it's formed over 2 relatively elevated bones, it forms a tunnel that different structures can sort of snake under so that your hand can do the functions that it needs to do. So underneath that carpal ligament, you have a few of your tendons that allow your fingers to flex, so to make a fist, but you also have your median nerve, and again, that runs from your neck all the way down and snakes through or under that carpal ligament. And that is going to provide your muscles the ability to flex your fingers, and it's also going to provide sensation to those parts of the fingers that I talked about. Now, when you are sitting at a desk, or when you are really in any sort of a position that stresses your wrist, and what I mean by stress is either having it extended, so bent backwards for long periods of time, or bent forward for long periods of time, that can actually put stress on your carpal tunnel. So your ligament gets stressed, and then if you're in that position for a period of time, you can actually get inflammation in that area. And so it's not a lot of room to work with. You have those tendons, you have a lot of tendons that run through there, and you have your nerve that runs through there. So if you have inflammation in there, so for example, like this is actually a good example because this is a bad table height where I'm at. So if I were to have my keyboard, my wrist would be pretty flexed, meaning bent forward. But conversely, a lot of people will also, when they're working on the keyboard, have their wrists bent backwards for a long period of time. And this is especially the case if you're using a mouse. And so that can cause some pain in your wrist in that position if it's there for a long period of time. And so that inflammation that can occur from that prolonged positioning can put stress on your median nerve. And so that can cause a few symptoms to develop. And so what can happen is if you have that prolonged stress for your median nerve, here are sort of a few hallmark symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome. You will either have tingling or numbness of your thumb, index finger, middle finger, and half of your ring finger. And that goes along with what I talked about. That's what your median nerve innervates. So if it's affected, if it gets compression under your wrist, you'll feel some of that tingling, some of that numbness in those fingers. one other hallmark sign is that you'll actually lose grip strength. So if you were to say, you know, like those stress balls or whatever, if you were to grip that in a hand that wasn't effective versus a hand that was effective, you would feel a noticeable difference. That median nerve, because it does affect muscle activation, will, if it is affected, you will have less grip strength on that side. You might get burning in that wrist. So a lot of times with nerve compression, you can get burning along where that nerve innervates. So again, kind of along that thumb, forefinger, middle finger, and ring finger. And so those are some of the hallmark signs to look for. So in summary, median nerve is really the main culprit when it comes to carpal tunnel syndrome, and it usually happens when your wrists are in an extended position or in a flex position for a long period of time. And the hallmark symptoms: pain in the hand, a loss of grip strength, and some tingling or burning in the thumb, forefinger, middle finger, and maybe even some of the ring finger. And so if you do have some of those symptoms and you are a DJ or a music producer that has been experienced some of those symptoms, then you may have carpal tunnel syndrome. And I do have another video out where I have 3 tests to kind of go over whether or not you can kind of rule in whether or not you are more likely to have carpal tunnel syndrome or not. And I can certainly link that to this video. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, then definitely give me a like. And if you loved it and want to sort of get more content like this for DJs and music producers, hit that subscribe button and I will be sure to keep you updated when new videos are uploaded. All right, take care and I'll see you in the next video.